Kia ora koutou. Hello all and welcome to the Joe Blogs Poetry Podcast, a short and light exploration of the poetry found in the pockets of people I've met. I personally struggle to read poetry, but love to hear people reading out their own work. Join me as we delve into the wacky world of words. This week, we get to play with Casey.
Okay, so what's your name and where are you from?
My name is Casey, or Cassandra. I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, and I grew up in British Columbia, Canada, and now I live in Wellington, Aotearoa. So, yeah. Citizen of many nations.
And can you describe where we are?
We are currently sitting in my bedroom on the south coast of Wellington. The wind is blustery outside. You can maybe hear it on the mic later. And it's dark and it's kind of scary, but I'm sure if you went outside it would be beautiful. You'd probably see the stars tonight.
And what do you think of when I say poetry? What does that mean to you?
That's a hard question. It's really speech, but kind of scrubbed back to the emotional, to the symbolic. Something about it just cuts you deeper than just regular talk, I suppose. Poetry for me personally isn't something that I spend a lot of time kind of contemplating over or trying to think up. It's just like something that kind of comes up naturally as I move throughout the world, sometimes more than others in my life. And it's just like when you get a certain timbre or rhythm of words in your head, I have to write that down. And once you do, it feels better.
Cool. Do you have a favourite poem or a song with poetic lyrics?
There is a song called Wooden Heart by Listener, what she calls talk music. It's really poetry, but kind of shouting and kind of rock. And it's just the most uplifting lyrics that you'll ever hear in your life. It's really deeply touching. Yeah.
We're all born to broken people on their most honest day of living. Since that first breath, we'll need grace so we've never given. Well, I've been haunted by standard red devils and white ghosts. It's not only when these eyes are closed.
I've got a few favorite poets whose stuff I just consistently like. Joy Harjo just awarded the Poet Laureate in the United States, and her stuff, again, it just gets right to you. It's amazing.
Awesome. I'll have to check those out.
Yeah.
They sound great. Do you have any poems you'd like to share?
What? That's what we're here for? You should have said something. Cool. I might start with something a bit silly and short, just to get situated.
Cool. Silly and short when you're ready.
Alright, so this one is called Hades, brackets, can't sleep. Last night it was raining, and I dreamed about Hades. Old gods with spray tans, another devil in latex. I woke up dehydrated, jaded, still fairly wasted, masturbated. At least I'm no longer anxious. Gave most of my morning to apathy and porn, maybe. There are just too many people on this goddamn rock. Which Jesus forgot, or just couldn't be fucked to come back for us. He's probably at his dad's place, ramming angels instead. Guess I'll get out of bed.
I experienced a strange sensation.
I don't have it written down, so I'm gonna just have to go with memory and hope that suffices. Should be fine. Oh, almighty creator of all things, who instructed us to tend these trees, to till this ground, your muddy knees, and me yanked wholly from your chest cavity. See, we were supposed to spend our lives in service to the master, Whether black-throated butcher or heartless black-backed jackal or just some dumb cunt who couldn't help but eat the apple. And then there's you. The seventh-day afterthought, just a spinning top in the lap of God, and he's so vain as to call that bliss. Well, you know what they say of ignorance. Still, we found the tree that tastes like knowledge, and you said, don't eat the fruit. I promised, but in times of truth, I must be honest. It tasted fucking delicious. It was almost certainly worth it, and somehow sweeter than predicted. Now bear witness to our shame. We've been evicted from the garden. But I was climbing up these walls before we fell from pardon, excommunicated or emancipated, an ex-lover to the great creator who says that death is knowledge and somehow exiled life is toil. I'll die 1,000 times a scholar with my spade inside the soil. Still conversing with the serpent, I'm not sure that blame is justified. You begin to see some flaws in that intelligent design. Less an engineer or architect, more a lonely child with a Lego set. Now there's no shame in being naked, you're just flesh-bound blood and muscle, but that shit's so overrated. Now I find strength in something supple. I'll swap that apple for a peach. There's still juice upon my cheeks, and I'll be spitting out the seed as we're crashing through the trees. See, if you're a snake in the woods, then I'm chopping at the deep roots. And if you're condemning Eve, well, Adam can go get fucked too.
I experienced a strange sensation.
It's interesting. I find origin stories very fascinating, especially I'm reading a book called Braiding Sweetgrass right now, and they talk about one Native American origin story, which is Sky Woman dancing the world into existence on the back of a turtle, right? And all the animals come together to support her, and the muskox gets mud from the river, which becomes all the soil, and it's just so beautiful. And then in Western Christian origin stories, it's literally getting kicked out of the garden, which is so much is played out in our society and our collective mind, even if you're not Christian. Yeah, powerful stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Those narratives are probably some that have led to this very destructive place that we've been in.
Yeah.
Including environmentally. The idea that God gave us this world to use as we want.
Cool.
Rolling.
Another one. This is called Howl. Winding through the underbrush, follow the coal seam birds. Deep inside the forest where twisted paths diverge. Into the home of ruby-throated thrushes. Keep your eyes peeled for the beasts in the bushes. These fantastic things, all horns and wings. Too quick to flee still. Feel their prickled gaze, watching. Crouched away in the understory, the tooth, the claw, the rustle beneath. Eyes amongst the canopy, those floating orbs of yellow-green. Shaking forest on bended knee, say it twice. Somewhere along here, she buried my heart. She buried my heart. Beneath the beating leaves and the Venus trees. Listen. Da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. Come, my child, come. Thrust your forehead in first. Breathe in the dirt. Choke on the salt in the bones of the earth. Chew on the soil and suck out the words. Return, return, return. There's a flickering, a fire. A frenzied flutter in the distance, quiet. Keep searching. They may come to you and tell you of their pain. Soothe them as you may, but remember, small claws grip tightly, and small wings stir up storms. Find it there, packed with soil, gripping lichen, winding roots, that beating four-chambered jewel. Beauty, loss, love, and grief, one for each. Bind it twice, once with twine and once with vines, and turn on twisted ground. Do you remember the way out? Past the marbled glade, avoid the watchful eyes. Past the burning tower, smoke rising from the spires. Pass through woodland fog, hold the heart aloft. Quickly, already the soil cries its loss. Trees bend towards the earth, thunderous creaks as the rivers burst, 1,000 birds appear on the horizon. The air may stutter as something enormous passes overhead. When the mountain claps, do not feel afraid. What cold comforts were you seeking while the old queen wept? Howl, the earth demands that some debts be paid in flesh. There are beings in the woods who lead you safely to their depths. Return again, child. Remember where your heart was kept.
Wow, I find Casey's poetry so insightful and so multi-layered. It's a rich compost of different ideas and different scraps of information that she's come across throughout her life, all woven in this kind of instinctual way into this very profound and moving poetic expression. And yeah, it was such a pleasure to come to Wellington and hang out with her in the flat, the treehouse. Yeah, we had a couple of poetry nights where a lot of different people from Wellington came around, and we'd all share some poems. And that's where I first heard some of Casey's work, which really struck me. People should hear it. Thank you so much, Casey, for sharing some space with me, sharing some time with me, and sharing your words with all of us. And I'd love to end this episode with a poem I wrote some months ago. It's a bit of a journey of the subconscious and a little bit trippy. When I was listening back to Howl by Casey, this was one of my poems that I felt there was some resonance between the two, called The Last Living Lark. He creeps whip-like around the cloudscape, a fake ape hooting with dirigible ballast. At last, a paper that burns as the worm turns. She yearns for a little milk from the saucer, but the hare flies and dash the courser. As Long Eyes watch from the hot air balloon that all too soon will perish, ripped holes, basket crashes a blemish in the smooth green mould. Where bulls can be seen click-clacking, the old women yik-yakking as they felt the bowler hat, and needle it, and trim the fat excess wool with a scissoring tool that gleams back sunlight, enough to line them, find them wafting on a wind, kite-like, barely anchored by the string of the bard's guitar as he sings of the eyes that fell out of his head. Or so he said, through dark glasses. No sight passes, no reflection or sound. All is sucked down. Under this facade town, the sewage leaks into the mind. She tries to find the answer in a pool full of riddles, sets fire to the water and, while it burns, fiddles. But the blue gas expands to inflate the farmlands until only the city remains. The tinkers weld up the drains and weep bitter refrains to the mayor with a pelican bill. He swallows their tears and gulps up their fears, growing larger and birdier still. But the road to the sea was too crooked to be anything but a pogo stick park, and the children did spring. Flutter wing to the hand comes the last living lark, who trilled until dark when she laid down her head in the sand. Kia ora mo te whakarongo. Thank you so much for listening again, and next time we get to hear the wise words of Justin. Big thank you to Listener for letting us use their track Wooden Heart, and for Adrien Sawyer, a great friend of mine from Edinburgh who's released his album Ave Alba
which I encourage you guys to check out and has been the soundtrack for this episode.